Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Nutmegs and Knee Slides podcast. In this episode, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to talk about the politicizing of this World Cup and a lot of the controversial topics. Personally, I'm going to come out and say this first up that I think this, so far, has been a great World Cup. The football's been great, the results have been great, there's been upsets, there's been thrashings, and there's been tension in the group stages of this tournament, and I think it's all very exciting. It's been a great World Cup, but there's a few things that are definitely lifting a few eyebrows. So, one of them, I'm going to come right out and say it first, is to do with the actual games, and I think we all know where this is going to go. It's the drinks breaks. Because this is something odd that I think is definitely confuse some people as to why they're doing drinks breaks. Because, are they really needed? Are they really necessary? I, as someone who does play football, and plays in Australia, I do know for sure that it can get very hot. It's very humid, even in the winter months. I've just played a game today as I've recorded this, and it was middle of the day. I was playing as a box-to-box midfielder. It gets very hot, and you get very exhausted. So sometimes a drinks break is good. But the reasons we have those drinks breaks are because it's hot. You sweat a lot, you lose a lot of hydration. If I play a night game at night or when the sun's not at its peak, the referee wouldn't give us a drinks break because it's not needed, because obviously it's not hot, it's not sunny, it's not humid. But now we're seeing this in the US, and I can definitely tell you that they're not playing in temperatures that are hotter than what I've played in without needing a drinks break. Because I can Google it right now. One of the hottest areas in the US, say California. I could just Google right now, what is the temperature in Los Angeles today, and it's going to come up with, if it gives a second to load, middle of the day, top temperature 23 degrees. I've played in much, much lighter heats than that. I played in 30-degree heat at times. And that's the thing. If you look at, say, Mexico City, where they've played a few games so far, where there's, again, it's hitting 24, 23 degrees. And if you go even further up north into Canada, where it's obviously known to be a bit colder, say Vancouver, that's where there's been a few games. What's the temperature right now in Vancouver? In this time of the year, the top temperature they're getting is nothing more than, middle of the day, they're getting 18 degrees. They're getting 20, you're getting 20-degree days. So, yeah, it's interesting to see why they're doing this. Then again, not really, because we all know why they're doing this. It's because money. The FIFA and all that, they want money. They're using these drinks breaks to, squeeze in more ads and make more money. They're getting in 8 ads. Drinks breaks are meant to be only 2 minutes, and I think they're extending. They're really toying around with that. I think FIFA giving players even more longer drinks breaks, sometimes going up to 3 or 4 minutes, maybe even 5 minutes at times. We just want to watch the football. They'll have a chance to, get a drink in that if there's a big stoppage for an injury or something like that. But it's not gone that way. FIFA wants money. They'll take a drinks break. A part of me wonders, again, is it an American thing that they use the drinks breaks? Because if it is an American thing, it doesn't make it much better, because obviously FIFA is going to see that and they're going to go, oh, this is a good chance for us to make money. We can just say, oh, it's something they do in America. But, it is what it is. And speaking of America, the other thing obviously the final is a few weeks away, and the halftime show. I am really shocked that they're going to do a halftime show. It's going to have Shakira, BTS. They want to do it on par with the Super Bowl. And like, why? Why are you going to have a halftime show? Because halftime in football lasts 15 minutes, no more, no less. Sometimes a bit more. It's around that amount of time. Super Bowl half times, they last about like what, 20, 25, maybe even, I guess sometimes I don't watch American football, but like maybe even 30 minutes at a time because they're fitting in a whole halftime show. I'm not against shows, I enjoy sometimes seeing at the Champions League finals and all that, seeing sometimes doing the shows before the match, pre-match entertainment, the opening ceremony, the closing ceremony, put on a show there. Do it before the game's played. Do anything there because the ideal way to finish this tournament is 90 minutes of great football, entertain us all, world champions get crowned. That is what it should be. I've seen a number of ITV and BBC. They're all boycotting this this halftime show. Halftime, like that's meant to be where the pundits and you're not going to have Ibrahimovic or Henry or any other pundit in this World Cup to to give their opinion at halftime because they're busy doing a halftime show. Like FIFA, literally, are just going to be full-time whistle, ads, halftime show, more ads, kick off second half. They don't get money from doing a whole from the pundits giving their opinions, ex-players who have won this World Cup before, saying what they think each team has to do. They're not going to get money by that. FIFA, they want money. They don't want money. There's nothing we can do about it. But I hope that one day FIFA do take a look at themselves and they go, hey, we we're focusing on the football now. Football comes first, money comes second, because money's always going to come. In modern day and age, you can still make a lot of money. Like Qatar and what Qatar had, they still made so much money, FIFA, and yet they still want more. Like, it changes people money. It's a slippery slope. It changes people, changes what they do. But yeah, halftime show, whether it's going to be good or bad, I don't know. If it's a bad halftime show and they've cut it all for that, I would not be happy. But you never know what's going to happen. If it's a good halftime show, then entertainment. But still, we just want football. We don't want to. Not saying we don't want to see Shakira or BTS or Coldplay or whoever they've got doing it perform, but we're here for the football. We're watching this because football. That's what we want. We want to watch the football. We want to see the World Cup. We want to see the biggest sporting event in the world. We want to see a music show. We want to see the sporting event, the World Cup final. Nothing's bigger than that. So obviously money is going to come into an equation. How can we use it to make more money? Still, though, I think the players, though, the players are going to be focused just on the match. They won't care about the halftime show. They won't care about the drinks break. They won't care about the money that's getting made to FIFA. And I feel like at the same time, fans should do the same somewhat. Because as long as the football is getting played, then we can be happy. But if it starts impacting the football and they don't change it, then that's, I think, when there's going to be problems as far as what the fans want to see from the World Cup. The other thing I saw is that Donald Trump in the US has now got another right, like he did in the World Cup final, to go and lift the trophy with like Chelsea did. He's up there for the show, and I mean, why do you have to do that? I don't know why you would let Donald Trump go onto the stand and lift the trophy or be in all the pictures. Because what has he done? Infantino's literally saying to him, "No, come off. It's their moment. It's their moment." And Donald Trump still goes on. Like he he does a lot of crazy stuff. Trump. He's US president. I think he's decent at the job. He's probably the best they have, which says a lot about how much the US has fallen off from being like a global powerhouse. But like, yeah, he's the best. Uh, I guess they have at the moment for like people that run for the White House. But he's. I genuinely want to sit down with him one time and just work out what is going on in that brain of his. Because if I was, if I was Mbappe, if I was Messi, if I was Ronaldo, if I was, Rodri, or if I was Marquinhos, or whoever's the captain of the team, if he's on that pillar, I wouldn't lift the trophy. What I think would be funny is if players just in the dressing room before the World Cup final, they just, they just go in the dressing room. They're all and they say, "Hey, everyone, if we win this World Cup, we would." Yeah, it would just be the funniest thing. I think it'd be it'd be kind of funny. Like Trump's gonna go up there, he's gonna think, "Oh, we're gonna lift this trophy. I get to lift this trophy up with the football team that's won the World Cup. They're world champions." And then they're gonna have a literal. Imagine the players. They just go in the dressing room. "Hey, you know what? If we win this trophy and Donald Trump comes on the thing, we're gonna pretend to lift it. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna run over to like I don't know, like a goal or all the way forward or something like that. Just get him out the picture and then just lift the trophy there." I don't know. I feel like that would be funny. It would definitely be like a bit of a justice for football. Donald Trump doesn't have to get any pictures with the things, and I don't know why he should. Salt Bay did something similar, I believe, in Qatar, but like, you know, I if Donald Trump sees this, please do not, just don't go up there. Let them have their moment. Come on, just let them enjoy their um their moment. They worked so hard, played 8 games of football, and they're probably one of the most important of their lives because they've just become world champions because of it. Let them enjoy it. Don't go up there. Let them enjoy their trophy lift. It's a big moment for them. Yeah. So hopefully they have some sort of sense and they don't allow him up there to lift the trophy with whoever wins it. This is where it's going to start getting very controversial now. So I want to come out now and say that um, there's going to be a lot of topics here, but yeah, it should be fine. I'm all, what should I say? Probably should. So looking at the upcoming group stage, the next 2 days we're going to have the set official Pride match of the World Cup, and I personally think that having a Pride match is it's a bit of a silly concept because like what's it gonna do? Why is this they're gonna label it as a pride match? Why is that going to be any different from the other 100 or so games they get played in this World Cup? What's going to be different about that game? Are the players going to wear rainbow armbands? Are they going to wear rainbow laces? There's going to be pride banners and rainbow scoreboards. I don't know. There's nothing's going to be different. I don't see any reason why there's got to be any sort of pride related match. I don't think I get it's Pride Month, but Pride Month don't agree with that either. I think you just got to focus again. Like it goes back to what I was saying about FIFA. People don't care about the pride and the rainbows and all that. What we care about is the football. The fans want to see the football. And speaking of the fans of the two nations playing, they're going to be very enraged because the two games that the two teams that are going to be playing in that game are Iran and Egypt, which are two teams that are not very comfortable with things such as being gay. They don't believe in it. They're Muslim countries. They really don't believe in homosexuality. In most cases, gay people are killed in those countries. So it just seems quite um, surprising that FIFA puts up a Pride match, and especially with how close they are with Donald Trump, because I know that Donald Trump isn't exactly very cool with a lot of Pride stuff. I know I believe he tried to get Pride Month in the UK, in the US, sorry, exchanged for Veterans Month and celebrate veterans of things such as war and Vietnam, all that. So it's surprising to me that with how much FIFA maybe are how cool they are with this, given how close maybe Gianni Infantino has become with Donald Trump over the past maybe even couple of years. Clearly, they've had a relationship since the Club World Cup, and maybe even a little while before that. But yeah, when you look at the Pride match, nothing's gonna be different about that. So there's no point in giving it a Pride label, because with the fans and the players in that stadium, it's only gonna make things worse. All right, like the treatment maybe of Iran in this World Cup, like saying that if they come to the US, they got to go straight back out. They're staying in Mexico, play your game, good for you. Get back out of our country, go back to Mexico until your next game. Like you've got to, you've got to treat them like any other country in the World Cup. You've got to treat them with the same respect as the others, because it's the same situation. If this World Cup was not being played in the US, it would be a very different story. I bet that some of these players are, they're very cool with the US. They don't have any beef. They probably don't support this whole war and regime going on in the Iran right now. We saw something similar with the women's team of Iran back in the Asian Cup in Australia the other month, and whether or not the men's team, I don't think much Iranians do believe in this chaos going on there. But at the same time, have you ever want to be famous in the football world? We can't guarantee that, but we can guarantee you a chance to come on the Nutmegs and Knee Slides podcast as a guest, as a contestant for one of our many little mini games that we're going to host soon. Or if you've got any ideas for what you want to see on the Nutmegs and Knee Slides podcast, let us know. Leave a comment down below, or if you'd like, you can email us at nutmegsandkneeslides@gmail.com for more information. Now, back to the show. A lot of them do love their country, and loving a country doesn't mean that you have to support them in and out. Like, if it doesn't mean that if your country goes to war, like completely starts a war for no reason and just blows up half the other country, that you still have to support them. Loving a country just means that you're proud to be from that country, and I'm sure that those players are. But that doesn't mean that they support anything that Iran is doing right now. And I'm sure they don't support what the US is doing right now. So like they could have boycotted this whole World Cup, but they didn't. They still came because they want to compete. They've earned a right through their qualification to be at this World Cup, so they're going to take it. But yeah, like back to like the Pride match, like Iran, if they can, don't let it affect them. They got a good result against New Zealand. They're going to play against Belgium and Egypt. So yeah, if they can do something, have a decent tournament. I predicted them getting to the knockout stages and get knocked out in the round of 32. They could go further. They might do better. They might do worse. Who knows? But yeah, as far as Iran and that go, the treatment of them has been not very good. I don't think in the World Cup. I think every player has the right to be treated well by a host nation. You know, you're a host nation, so you don't. That just means that you host the tournament. You know, you don't make the rules. You just you just have them there. You're hosting this tournament. It's a massive honor to host this tournament. So yeah, just treat them like the other countries. And I think this Pride match is not good. I know it happened by chance. You know, I don't think the US said we're going to give Iran this Pride game. I believe it was set in the group stage. You know, they like automatically said, okay, this game here, this group, this round, these two teams, you know, whichever we draw, they're going to be playing in this Pride match, and you get Egypt versus Iran. Like that doesn't go down well. I think with the people in those countries, it's not going to go down well with the fans or the players. It's interesting what FIFA's going to do or say, what the US will say with this Pride match. But like, again, I'm not a big fan of it. To be fair, I don't think it's going to do anything. I don't think there's a point in having a Pride match because again, we don't care about that stuff. We're football fans who watch this tournament because we want to watch entertaining and exciting football. So yeah, we're here for the football, and that's what we want to see. That's what we care about. That's what we talk about. Touching across now even more, and this kind of covers a number of countries, to be fair. Um, it's so for those of you who are unaware of Australia's current political climate, we currently got a Pauline Hanson who owns, or not owns, but is head of an independent party in the Australian government, the One Nation Party, and I believe she's on the right side of politics. Now, she apparently is against a lot of immigration and a lot of stuff like that. You know, she's tough-minded. You know, she's you know not strict. Something strict is the right word, but you know, she's on point with her policies. You know, she's putting the country first and what we here in Australia need. That's like the idea of the One Nation Party. The thing is, a lot of people have been come out, especially not even just Australia. I know in the UK, people have said it too about talking about what our national teams would look like without immigration. And that's not even just talking about Africa and Muslim countries. That's talking about players who play for England, like Declan Rice, who are of Irish descent and have actually played football for Ireland, or anyone else who have maybe got people from countries like England or Ireland or US or Canada or Mexico. Like, there's a lot of talk like that. And I saw a number of people like online. They were saying like, if you support one nation, you cannot support the Socceroos, because when you look at like a number of our players, such as Nestor Irakunda for Australia, he's been a great player for us this tournament, and his family was born in a Tanzanian refugee camp, and then he moved to Australia when he was very young. He's raised up here, and now he's playing for the Socceroos. So, yeah, I will come out and say it right now that I'm not against immigration. It's kind of hard for me to be against immigration because I have, you know, a father who moved to Australia when he was very young. His family came from Manchester in the UK, and then they came here to Brisbane in Australia. So, yeah, I think when you look at a lot of these immigration talks, saying, you know, stuff like, oh, if Australia had all these players, they could go play for Africa, but they don't because they play for Australia. It works the other way too, you know. I'm sure that when you look at players like Michael Olise, for example, you know, I believe he was born and raised a lot in England. You know, he speaks very fluent English. He's got somewhat of an English tone and accent to him. And like you say, like, oh, if he could be playing for, he's gone and chosen to play for France. You know, it's about your roots. You know, if you've got the passport and you've got the citizenship of the country, then you can play for that national team. It's that simple. that everyone who's saying that, oh, immigration is a good thing because it gives us these football teams. No, I think that immigration is good, obviously, but that doesn't mean you have to support total immigration and open borders and getting rid of all the strict rules. I think immigration, it's a sensitive topic, I think, and I think it's something that does have to be controlled, in terms of how many people you let into a country, who those people are. They good people? Are they going to benefit the country? Because, like, I think Anthony Albanese in Australia, he's had relaxed immigration laws for a long time, and it's not necessarily been a bad thing, but like relaxing laws, and I know that this is probably a sensitive topic and it's not the best place to talk about it on a football podcast, but when you look at what happened in Bondi a few months ago, um, you bring in people who are at war and have a hatred for people such as people who celebrate Hanukkah and the Jews and that, and like they're linked with ISIS. I believe that's my understanding, that they were linked with ISIS and they attack stuff. That's not to say that all Muslims are like that. I can definitely say that Pauline Hanson has said that. I do remember her getting quoted saying that there is no such thing as a good Muslim, and I heard that and I thought, that's not exactly true. I know that there's a number of good Muslims, but I think that when you look at, just because you support her and her immigration laws, that doesn't mean you can't support your team. It's definitely great immigration, and these players have got a right to choose which national team they want to play for if they have the citizenship, or they have parents or family from that country, or if they've moved to that country when they were very young. But yeah, like, again, I don't see players like Nestor Irukunda as Tanzanian. He's come to Australia, he's made a good life, his family's made a good life, and yeah, I don't see players like Declan Rice as Irish. I don't see players like Jonathan David, of Canada. I don't see him as American, and I know that there was links with him doing that. I don't see Michael Elise as English. Um, I see him as French. I don't see Jamal Musiala as English just because he moved to England when he was very, very young. I see him as German because he loves Germany. He lives there. He plays football in there. So yeah, immigration. It's not something that we can't be about. It gives us a good World Cup, and it benefits a lot of countries. But like, you have to just have that sense that your football team might be where it is because people have moved from other countries, but at the same time, you can be happy that they have come, and yeah, you can have an opinion on it. But yeah, I think every person can support their own country and have their own political views. Because again, I don't believe that politics and football should be mixed. I'm not a fan of how politicized this World Cup has been. I want to see a lot more good football in this tournament because that's what we care about. We care about the football. We don't care what Donald Trump does. We don't care what any other Australian government person does. We don't care what any other immigrants, all that. We don't care what FIFA does with approving visas and nationality changes. We don't care about any of that until it affects the football. Until the football starts suffering because of these things, that is when it starts to become a problem. And slowly but surely, it's doing that. It's bringing in political figures to take pictures with national teams just because they are good friends with FIFA. No, we don't want that. We want this moment to be for those players who have earned the right to lift that trophy. So yeah, they can. That's the thing. They should, I think, set politics and football apart. There's one more thing that I also wanted to touch on in terms of a lot of the politicization of this World Cup, and that's in regard to some of the stuff with I've seen Australian fans going into the US and obviously had some chants about Donald Trump again, who again I can't really say what they are on this podcast because they are bad. If you want to look for yourself, I'm sure there's stuff up there. But at the same time, that is football. That people can say what they want in a chant. I don't think that there's any point in calling Trump what they called him. I think a lot of people are going to have their opinions in regard to what they think of him, because that's the thing. I know Donald Trump. He is a controversial figure. Every person in Parliament is a controversial figure, but at the same time, when you again, some of the Australian fans, saying the chants about him, to them, again, I would probably say, stick to football, because that is what you all have come to the US to see. You've come there to watch your team play football. You're here to watch the football. You're here to see the best in the world play. So again, stick to the football. So, yeah, this World Cup, there's going to be a lot of controversy in it. There's going to be lots of, there's going to be lots of questions asked. And there's only going to be more after the deeper we go into this World Cup. But at the same time, we, as football fans, I think the best thing we can do with most of it is ignore it, because that's the thing. We're not here for that. We're here for the football, and I know that is somewhat. Some people might think that's kind of hypocritical of me, because I've just devoted a whole episode of my podcast to talking about how politicized this World Cup has been. But at the same time, as a football fan, we can watch this World Cup and we can be happy about the football, because that is what it's about. We're not here for whatever political games Trump or Infantino want to work together on. We're not here for any of the controversy and, how Iran gets treated with pride matches and, being forced out of the country. We're not here to watch any of that. Obviously, it's stories and the media feasts upon that kind of stuff. But as a football fan myself, who has enjoyed this World Cup, who plays the game, who watches it day in, day out, is so excited. Wait 4 years to watch a World Cup again. It's just a sense that as football fans, we are currently in a period where we've got a month of football and it's the best in the world. So let's enjoy the football. Let's enjoy what we've got. Let's enjoy the games that are being played. Let's watch the skills, the goals, the players. Let's enjoy all of that right now. Let's spend this next month or so enjoying the football that this game has to offer. So I'm going to leave it there for now. Keep an ear out, because we have more content coming soon, including tactical analysis of some of the most fast-going and best-performing teams in this World Cup so far. So be sure to keep an ear out for any of them. And for now, I'll catch you later. Nomegs and These Science has now expanded beyond just YouTube. It's now well and truly listenable through short videos over Instagram and TikTok. And soon we plan to even expand it more beyond Spotify. If you enjoy our content, we'd appreciate a follow or a subscribe or a like or anything, depending on where you're watching this. Thank you very much for watching this, and we'll hopefully see you very soon.